All right, we are calling the Police, Fire, and Health Committee to order at 7 p.m.
Okay. Roll call.
You want me to do it? Okay. Let's see. Mr. Brown.
Here.
Mr. Weber.
Here.
Mr. Gribble, Chairman.
Here. Thank you. Okay, let's look at the approval of minutes from the last meeting, which was September 18th, 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve the September 18th, 2025 minutes.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Approval of the agenda for tonight.
I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the items to discuss tonight, Health Board reappointment. Amy Wolf, resolution number 2026-3. We have something in our packet on that, right?
Yeah, you have it there.
Okay.
I normally don't read those.
Yeah, I wasn't wrong with it. This is a reappointment, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
This one and the second resolution for Mike Quick, they've, Andy's reached out to both of them, I've talked, we've all talked to them, and they want to continue to serve, so.
Okay.
If you notice, actually, too, both of their terms expired on January 15th, so we're actually going to be okay.
Okay.
They'll be appointed before, you're right, before the next board meeting.
So I'll make a motion to send the resolution number 2026-3 on to full council.
Second that.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And since we already discussed Mr. Flick, I'll also make a motion to move resolution 2026-4 on to full council.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 If I can, I think you might want to also, and this goes for everybody, follow that up with opposed, same sign, so that, you know,
Any opposed?
any opposed, just to,
Good deal.
okay.
Okay. Next item on our list is Ford lease program, 3 cruisers. And I think we have the chief here to talk about that.
Yeah, I wanted to start with, I just did a quick snapshot of you guys for last year's, is that okay? Or
That's fine, yeah.
Okay. This is just, so you know where we're at, what we've been doing. So, our calls for service stayed pretty consistent, 10,023, 10,024, just under 10,025. Our investigative cases that are on there, those are reports that result in like arrests, citations, things like that. So those are also pretty consistent. Our overtime hours, we made a good dent in that. And one of the changes that's made from 24 to 25, we entered into an agreement with the school. So now we have a full-time officer still out at the school. He's just a reserve officer. So we got our full-time officer back for patrol. So that's for the last half of the year. So that helped a lot with our overtime, our road coverage, things like that. A decent chunk of the hours of overtime, if you go down in 25, about a third of that is dispatch overtime. It's not really something that can be worked out through the schedule. It's contractual. Anytime the dispatcher takes off, it's sold for overtime. So that's why there's that. They account for a large chunk of our overtime numbers. And in 24 or 23, we were short one part-time dispatcher, and we actually lost one at the start of this year. So we're going to start the year short one dispatcher. Not something that we saw coming. Just happens. You can count for another full-time dispatching job in another department. So try to change some schedules around to hopefully not have the recurrence of 23. And then it's just broken down on costs. Those are costs that I pull off of the year-end expense report. And then explains the operational context there for the SRO program I would have. So that's just the real quick in a nutshell
Thank you.
from last year. On to the patrol vehicle sides of things. I budgeted this year to add 3 vehicles or replace 3 vehicles in our current fleet. We've got a 2017 Ford that's completely, the transmission's out of it. It's past the point of repair at this point, suspension. Our 2019 Ford, which is Unit 53 there, we replaced the engine at the end of last year, so it's back up and running, but it's on borrowed time. And then our SRO vehicle that they're currently using now was a repurposed vehicle that we had it set back as our backup canine officer's vehicle. It still had the cloth seats in it, so we could easily put a kennel in there so we could run that when the canine vehicle went down. So we're using that as our SRO vehicle right now. And then our drone vehicle has over 100,000 miles, and it's near the end of its life cycle, but it also doubles as a patrol vehicle. So it houses the drone, but it's also used as a patrol vehicle. And then the 6 that are up and running well are the 3 2020s and the 3 2022s.
Thank you. So with this has already been in the funds for 26, the 3 police vehicles.
So the way the lease program works, we would pay for 1 vehicle this year, but we would get 3. So I budgeted to outfit 3 cruisers and to make 1 vehicle purchase. And then we would pay for a vehicle next year, but not get any.
Right.
And then pay for a vehicle next year. So you're getting 3 up front, and the 3 vehicle payments are spread out over the
36 months.
Yeah, and then I've got the breakdowns of the outfits here. That's for 1 cruiser. I got a third one somewhere. Swore I made 3 of them. I did. This one's not front and back. That's just
Thank you.
So that's going through Cartas for 1 vehicle outfit, and then this is the quote from Ryan for 1 vehicle also, but that would be through the lease program. They quoted us that back in August. I double checked with them that the cost is still the same now. And that breakdown from par, it's tweakable. That's just kind of if we go completely like straight across the board, every car gets exactly the same stuff put in it. I know our last builds, we had a few that the printer, there was an issue with ordering printers, so we put them in a different place or ordered them at a different time, but the cost should be right around that area.
This is who you intend on purchasing them from?
Correct. That's we used them the last go around when we bought vehicles in 22. It was kind of a throw together at the last minute deal. The previous chief wasn't real familiar with the process, and I wasn't either, but I assisted in that, and Ryan, he was great to work with. They matched the minimum bid. I think they actually went under. I just got this in Julie, so that's why we don't have anything typed up as far as an ordinance or anything.
Yeah, I can do the ordinance and then you guys can just vote it onto the agenda. You guys already discussed it, but yeah, we can vote it onto the agenda on Tuesday.
It's not, you feel comfortable with having 3 up front, and then, so you'll have three cruisers that are aging at the same pace.
Right. And the way our mileage breaks down, so this last go-around that we bought in 22, those are all, their mileage is about the same, about 50,000. So after 4 years, about 50,000 miles on those. The 2020s are getting up there, minus the canine, because his is, he's the only one that drives that car. The canine officer is the only one that drives that car. All the rest of them are shared amongst the patrol. So, there comes a day where that car runs 24/7. But his is the exception to that rule. And the 2020s are right around 80,000.
What do you see as like the average life expectancy for a patrol vehicle, like mileage wise?
Once you get up into the over 100, you're really on borrowed time, I'd say at that point. Like 56, as soon as it hit 100, it was at 102 when we downed it, and this was back in August. And the transmission went, the engine went all at the same time, and the officer that was driving it was kind of just his vehicle, so he was okay with the suspension the way it was. But when I went to move it, I mean, it's not pursuit ready. It's not ready for really, your normal patrol.
Yeah.
And it was primarily being used at that point because that was our SRO was using that as his vehicle. So we downed that one, pulled the one out of reserve, which was an even older car, but I think we had replaced the engine in that one too, if I'm not mistaken, years ago. Brian, that was old 54. Didn't we put a new engine in that? Like 20? But we got it back running, so I think I had to put like $500 in it to clean the mold out of it and then get it so it was able to be used again. So that's where the reserve SRO is using now to get back and forth to school.
Okay. I'd imagine that there's a high level of idling time that a standard vehicle doesn't see, so that's why they go out at a lower mileage than a standard vehicle.
Well, and the K9 is exceptionally high. His idle times are probably triple what most other vehicles are. Just with, leaves a dog in the car and the car's got to be running.
Right.
Any other questions?
I don't have any questions.
I don't think so.
And being that this is first, I mean, if you guys want any specific reports or anything for me to run, our CAD system's pretty user-friendly. Not user-friendly, sorry, that's definitely not the word I meant to say. It's kind of like a la carte. You tell me what you want to see, and I can go in there and find that and run reports for you. So, all should have my email, and I'm usually here Monday to Friday.
I guess one last question is, did they give you a lead time once the order's placed?
Yeah, so 90 days on the cruisers is what they're running on average right now. But they did an order in November, he said, and it was just over 60 that they got them. So he told me I need to be safe.
Okay.
Any other questions at this point?
Yes, sir.
If they have anything,
Any other business? Yeah.
I'd rather business.
Any other business? Nice to have you all back there. Good to see you.
I think from a fire standpoint, we did get notice that Chief Jackson will be retiring the end of July. And we've been working with civil service, and Nikki and Matt have been working on making sure that the testing is moving forward. So we've had conversations, they've had conversations with testing agencies so that we can try to get the test posted, run, and have an idea who's going to be the replacement chief.
Okay.
So that is in the works. But we did get an official letter from the chief.
Okay, thank you. Any other business you need to bring up? Okay, our next meeting will be February 18th at 7 o'clock.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
You can second it.
On last second. Okay, I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Time is
7:14.
Thank you.
Yeah, those of you who you don't need to stay if you don't have anything else.
Yeah, what was your name, sir?
Ryan?
Ryan?
Shoot you.
It's up to you.
Which ones we doing next?
So you take a break.
Finance and then economic development.
Okay, we are calling the Laws, Ordinances, Zoning and Permits Committee at 7:17.
Roll call, please.
Matt Strickler, Chairman.
Here.
Terry Gribble.
Here.
Josh Woodmansey.
Here.
Okay.
And make a motion to accept the minutes from September 8th, 2025.
Make a motion. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Nothing on the agenda, so we don't have an agenda to approve.
Well, you could. You still could approve
We
it.
could.
Yeah, I'd just go ahead and approve it. 'Cause-
I'll make the motion.
Make the motion approved.
Second.
Do we have anything to talk about? I do have something I'd like to bring up. I know the council meeting, there was a discussion of a seat being filled for the design review, so I'd like to bring attention the ordinance for the design review, which is 1311. And there was a little discussion at the meeting about, I don't think that it's needed anymore as when it was established, so. But I don't want to just, I don't even know how to say this. I just want to toss it out and make that, but I would like to weigh pros and cons, and if somehow there could be any evidence of proof that this has benefited the community as a whole, opposed to litigation from the design review or on behalf of design review, because that's a touchy thing, because design review is not going to sue somebody or litigate, but someone on their behalf can do so. So have we done more good than bad? And have we stuck with the purpose of the design review, which the general purpose is right there?
Well, I'll jump in on that, Matt, because I'm a firm believer of we do need something to keep order within reason.
Right.
But there is a fine line that can and has been crossed at certain points. Do we need to make sure we establish and keep our historic buildings historic? Yes. But we've also got to realize that these buildings are not getting any younger,
Right.
and that the maintenance and then restricting what is allowed to be done to maintain these buildings, to keep them. I feel like at some point, maybe we have.
To rethink the whole thing.
We do, because if, you know, let's just use a composite versus a real wood, you know what I mean? It's a no-brainer, you're gonna spend a little bit extra, you're gonna go with the composite.
Right.
And it looks just like the original for the most part, except you don't have to maintain it.
Right.
So there's so many different things that have been used. You know, we can always use the oaks because that was the most recent, and I know it keeps getting brought up, but the fact that we have several people that do this for a living tell us that the structural side of that is being jeopardized if we don't protect it from the weather, right?
Right.
I understand we're covering up the old brick, and I understand, I love that old look, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But on the flip side, when you can't do anything with that anymore, and it was a constant fight for those people fighting that battle, now we gotta sit back and say, what are we actually protecting?
Right.
So, does it need to go away? I can't give you that answer right now.
That's why I think this is something.
This is a great conversation piece, and you know, hopefully the people out there are listening to it. We're gonna have some that just say that's completely crazy to get rid of it, and then we're gonna have others that are gonna say, well, you know, let's revamp it a little bit. And I think that is a very good possibility to revamp it and bring in more of today's standard instead of the old standard. These buildings don't get any younger, they're harder to maintain, more expensive to maintain, and you get to the point where people, instead of being able to afford to maintain them, they just wash their hands up.
Right.
And that's the last thing we need.
Well, we don't need that, and I think, I mean, we're here because we obviously ran to be in this room right now and to hold these positions, but when you listen to people in town, which I get to talk to a lot of people all day long, you know, I'm not stuck behind a desk, I'm out and about, and this isn't things that are being whispered. I mean, the businesses are really, there's a lot of very disgruntled people about the design review, and a lot of people I've been told, hey, this has to go, you know, or they have to get out of the way. The other thing is we talk about historic, it says, everything just says historic, but we don't even pick an era of when we want to go back to. We're going back to 1980, to the 20s, we're going back to the 1700s. What, to this original build? Because that's impossible, because nothing lasts forever, right? The purpose says that it was going to obtain resources to help the people maintain the buildings. Have they ever obtained resources to help them maintain buildings? I know they got a grant 30 years ago or so for the handicap accessible sidewalks, but as far as the buildings go, no one's paying for their stuff, but yet we get to tell them what to do with it. And I feel like I said at the meeting, if I owned a building, I'd be darned if someone was going to tell me what I can and can't do with it. There's a blood, sweat, and tears. They work for that. I don't think we should control them. Now, the color scheme thing, those are only suggestions. I've looked through the whole thing. A lot of it's just suggestions, but there's some things that are very stringent that is financially stifling to a small business owner. So you have these mandates and you want to hold them to a standard, but I don't think we've done that fairly across the board throughout the years. We got vinyl up on the square that looks like brick when we're not supposed to have vinyl. You know what I mean? So we pick and choose the battles of what we allow, what we don't, and I don't know. I think it just needs to be rethink. And
I agree 100%. Great way to start this off, in my opinion.
Right.
I've thought about this 100 times, and I don't have any skin in the game. I don't own one of these buildings.
I don't either. Right?
But it really hurts when I hear people that I know tell me the amount of fight they went through to replace windows, and the amount of money they had to spend to replace windows to meet somebody else's standard, when he could have bought a better window at a better price, and it probably looked better.
Probably look the same, honestly.
Yeah, but he got told he was controlled, his hands were tied on what he did.
How do we gather the data to verify that it's outlived its usefulness? Where do we get that at?
I had a conversation with a member of the board, of the design review committee board, I think there's some, couple things. Look at the ordinance, see how the ordinance is read. Is it still applicable? The other side of it is the regulations and procedures that have to be followed that need to be looked at. And the suggestion was talk to those that had been on the committee for a while. What works, what's not, and we can keep, what doesn't work, do we need to revamp or look at that is more efficient, affordable, and is to today's standards, windows, siding, whatever that may be. And then make a decision on what direction we want to go. So that was just a one-on-one conversation, trying to get a feel for somebody that's been on the board for a while, what they see, because they hear the same things as you guys hear.
I know none of us are wanting this to just go away and these buildings just go rogue and whatever they want. That's not, I mean, the city could still have, or the board could still have some insight and some oversight of what happens. But not, I mean, it was very particular of what you could and could not do, and that was where the big
Right,
struggle
that's where it
was.
goes to the regulations that they're dealing with that
Yes.
have not been updated for a long time.
Right, the last update I saw was 2006. And that was a couple things. I mean, we're talking 20 years now. A lot changes in 20 years.
Oh, but the material in general,
Yeah,
it's
the
got
construction
so
was
good.
totally different. But, and I think like I said, we can gather the pros and cons, and I think it'd be good. And like you said, get a board member, long-standing board member, and have a discussion with them.
Yeah.
And I would just change some of the rules. Honestly, what I'd like to see come with it, if we could change some of the ordinance, would be that instead of fighting someone like, hey, I want to renovate, why not see if there's any funds or grants? Like, the purpose of them was to find the resources to provide these for the businesses uptown. So find the money. If you really want to stick to this strict guideline, then find the money to buy the stuff that's going to go on that building. Because we can't let the town just fall down around us. So if you're not fighting it, if you're just going to fight them and not help the cause, then what's the point of having the committee, the board? We're here to help. We're not here to harm.
We should be promoting this.
Yeah.
We should be saying, hey, you're thinking about doing this, get with these people. They are gonna be able to guide you in the right direction on where to get, how to get, and potentially, this is preferred, but not a
And
mandate.
then they should be also helping with what's your budget. Let's try to keep this, but you don't hear that from anybody.
It's become a pain versus, something that help the community or to help the downtown business owners, or even they don't even have to have a business downtown, the property owner in general.
Yeah.
That they should be like, wow, these guys, this board, or the whatever it may be at the time, is here to help, and they want this building to look nice, and they want me to put money in it and preserve it. So, I agree.
So let's invite
Maybe this for the February meeting that you put on that there will be a design review discussion and open it up to the public to say, please come in and talk to us and
Perfect.
and maybe get a board member.
Yeah, certainly offer them to come up and try to get some of the stakeholders in uptown, if they're interested, to come up and give their perspective. Those that actually have skin in the game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the citizen obviously has some input on that too, but more than anything, it would be the business owner or the building owner. Not necessarily the business owner, because they can go rent a building somewhere else, but the actual building owner that is going to be putting his time and effort into that property.
Good idea.
Good conversation.
In line with that, if I can tell you that the vacancy from Josh for the planning commission has been filled. The 2 vacant spots on board, are we doing that by ordinance or not?
What?
Planning doesn't go, I did planning, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, that's not, yeah.
BZA, the Board of Zoning Appeals, there were 2 vacancies on that. Those have been filled, and there was actually a BZA meeting last night that the process was completed and successful. was in favor of the property owner, but it was done properly and that moved on, so we've gotten those moving forward, so we're getting spots filled, and you'll see there's, health department and other things. We're working on trying to get people involved.
Awesome. Is there anything else?
I do not.
I'm trying to think here if I had anything or not. I had a bunch going on, but wells ordinance, zoning, permits. Yes, actually, one other thing. I don't know if this is a place for it or not, but when I had mentioned, I came into the building and talked to Nikki about something else, and we were discussing a couple things about permits. Is there a way to see, so we can kind of do an evaluation of the permit process that we have in place now? When I say that some of the permitting fees are, I'm not saying we want to permit people to death, right? But sometimes it's just holding people that come to town accountable for what they're doing, right? Whether it be another utility or whether it be a private contractor replacing a sewer line, right? Ripping sidewalk out, leaving town, property owner, it was a rented property, whatever it may be. I know in other municipalities that we work in, there is a permitting fee, and what that does basically gives us, it's in a pool for our inspector to go out and check. Obviously, it'll help offset some of that revenue of when something doesn't get repaired or doesn't get repaired properly. That the city's not truly just going out and eating all these funds. There's got a little bit of a revenue. Like I said, I don't want to permit people to death. We shouldn't get permitted every time we want to do something. But when you get contractors that just come in, you get every local contractors that just have like a blanket permit process, basically, even if it's just a notification. But when you have road contractors coming in that are just digging holes and leaving, and the city ultimately gets stuck with that, we can chase them down all along, but they're not coming back to fix that stuff. We just need to look into something like that, and you probably have something. It's just how current is it, and how far do we push it? That's conversation piece. So, just wanted to bring that up.
We can get you the copy of the fee schedule.
Okay,
I can get the latest one from Nikki or Matt and
Okay.
forward it to you.
perfect, thank you.
There are some of those fees online already. And then again, it might be one of those that you want to understand the whole process. I mean, our building and zoning is a one-man show, so.
Mhm. Oh, I know. He does. He runs ragged.
Anything else? Alright. We'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Gribble, second. Meeting adjourned.
7:33.
Call please.
We are calling the Parks and Recreation Committee to order at 7:34. Roll call, Heath Watkins, Chairman.
Here.
Mike Richard.
Here.
Matt Strickler.
Here. Okay, and can I get a motion for approval of the minutes from October 2nd, 2025? I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
Yeah, I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? And may I also get a motion to approve the agenda for this evening?
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, so we've got a couple discussion items on here, and I'll try not to take too much time, but the first one on here is I wanted to discuss with the committee, as Parks and Recreation Committee,
talk a little bit about tourism and how that relates to recreation, and then ask the committee to consider, going out on a limb here, to actually possibly rename this committee Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. The reason for this, and you'll see a little bit further in the agenda, I am one of the building owners uptown, and I have a handful of businesses uptown. I talk to a lot of business owners, and they feel like tourism and the uptown in general maybe kind of gets left out and doesn't have a seat at the table. And when we think about things like economic development, that encompasses a large thing, industrial parks, all sorts of stuff. But specifically the uptown, and I agree with them as a business owner uptown, has never really had a seat at the table. So I would like to have our committee throw this to the council as a whole to possibly consider making this Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. Probably before you make a decision on that, I should go to the second item of discussion, which is the creation of a TID district, a tourism improvement district or investment district. That's the thing that I really want to move towards. So I've been studying this quite a bit, and everybody talks about grants. Going to read a couple points on here, but this is what I put directly online regarding tourism improvement districts. Tourism improvement districts can qualify for various grants and funding opportunities, particularly those related to tourism and outdoor recreation. Funding opportunities for TIDs can access federal and state grants to support their operations and marketing efforts. The Ohio Grants Partnership provides a platform to find these grants. I took some time, got on there. One of the things I was most pleased about is a lot of times we're applying for these grants and they're matching grants. Many of these grants are full grants, they're not matching grants. So having an avenue where we can get into this money, I think is fantastic. The state grants, the U.S. Economic Development Administration's Travel, Tourism, and Outdoor Recreation Program offers grants to support communities in rebuilding their travel and tourism sectors. We don't have a tourism sector right now. This TID will create that. Local initiatives, local governments and businesses can collaborate to establish TIDs, which they can apply for later, and enhance tourism-related projects and services. And then there's a little bit more down here. The second page, which I'm not going to read this whole thing, is the 9-step process that I found online for creating this TID district. When we do this, I'm of the opinion that obviously all the council has to be involved, but I think we need to invite the business owners, the theater, the Galion History Center, the train depot, everybody should have a seat at the table. We draw this thing up, we include all the property of the Galion History Center. Of course, we include the theater, the train depot, the Gill House, every bit of it in our TID district. What's really cool about this is not only can we apply for the grants, but those nonprofits and business, they can apply for their own grants as part of the TID. So we're not even doing all the work. If they have the initiative, they can seek these grants and kind of move up to the top of the list. So going back to the first point of discussion, I think we need to create a TID district, and part of that is we need to have tourism have a seat at the table in Galion, and I think it falls under Parks and Recreation because it is recreation, tourism. So last thing, well, I won't go to the last thing, but if do I need to make a motion to bring this to council, or can we just say we're going to bring it to council? How do I do that?
We have to probably put it in some kind of ordinance form.
Yeah.
Oh, for the TID, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Plus the other thing.
Plus to add tourism to Parks and Recreation.
That we could look at is, I think that's part of our council rules. We could actually probably change that as part of our council rules.
Yeah, I just like,
Yeah.
and I know we've changed, I think the streets, alleys, trees, airports, and everything under
Yeah,
the sun,
yeah.
that probably didn't start off as everything under the sun.
No, we had 5.
So-
I think we had 5 or 6, and then they wanted to make so every council person had a committee to chair. So
Okay.
we made it to 7. So
Oh,
since
okay.
I've been here.
So yeah, I'd like to have it be so official that this is Parks, Recreation, and Tourism, because when you're talking about economic development in town, tourism is a big thing. There's a lot of people that are under the false impression that Galion can't have tourism. That is a very false impression.
Absolutely.
So that's why I want to do that. And then to draw up an ordinance for the TID district, do I need to make a motion for that to take to council?
I think continue doing some homework with it.
Yeah.
And then we can get with Julie to put an ordinance up and bring it to the next Parks and Recs meeting, so
Right,
that it
yeah.
comes to the committee as the ordinance, you guys can look it over and then decide to take it to full council.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might want to get the lot numbers and the addresses of what we want to be part of that
Yeah.
district.
Well,
So we'll pretty much map it out.
The other
Yeah.
thing is, I just let you know that the city does have some TID
That's,
already.
yours is a travel investment district, or,
Well, I mean, it's a lot of the
It's a different
formatting
thing.
is
It's
the
a different
thing.
thing.
Am I right about that, Ryan or Nikki?
It's different.
it's different, it's a travel district, which includes like the airport and.
Right. But it's, and I'm just saying that, obviously, they've had some experience with doing it, so.
Now,
Like, we'll see.
right, I want to ask the mayor, if, as far as having discussions, because this needs to be discussed with the business owners, the property owners in this, the nonprofit organizations, the theater needs to be involved, everything. What are our guidelines for engaging in these discussions? Do we have any guidelines? If I want to go talk to these groups and pull them all together?
Yeah, you
But
can,
you
it
get
just
approval.
if you're acting as a committee together, we have to have it be a public meeting where we have it at the theater or whatever. I have capabilities to take my show on the road because I have a Wi-Fi that I can take with me. And so we could actually have meetings somewhere else if we obviously need bigger places.
Thank you, that answers that question. Now, because I just meet with them.
Right,
Is
then
there anything I
that's,
need to do?
no, you can just, just update your committee members on what you're doing, and you guys could each split it up, and Matt meet with this many, Mike meet with this many, and then compare notes at committee.
Yeah, I would think you would want to, define your area. Whether, if you're doing a tourism, do we limit it to the uptown and surrounding, or do we say Galion is not? My thought when I went to this on page 2 was you look at number 3, receive owner petitions, obtaining petitions signed by every record owner of the parcel located within. So if you're not going to be able to get it for the entire city of Galion, but we're going to define that in a more centralized or a specific location, and then maybe have those one-on-one conversations with a few of the stakeholders. Again, it might be one of those that you have that's going to be the focus of the next Parks and Recs meeting, and offer people to come in to want to have a conversation or offer concerns.
And when I read that, I think the way that's going to play out, most of, like, say, uptown properties, most of them are going to want to be in the TID district. Now, you could have a couple that, for whatever reason, don't want to be in there, and I think it's going to be kind of like drawing the corporation side limits, where you have a couple blocks that are out and complex. But yeah, you do have to get the petition signed. It's a bit of a process.
But who's to say they don't will join later, right? If they see it, people start, other business uptown benefiting, then they'll say, you know what, well, how are you guys doing this? And eventually that catches on, they're like, I think I want to be part of this now, this is awesome, right?
Well, and piggyback on the mayor's statement was, too, I think the focus should be the uptown area primarily to start out. And then once that gets solidified, then we can branch out, or, however that goes.
I agree,
At
Mike.
least that gives, for the people looking in, can see something tangible when they're seeing stuff, when you're presenting a thought on this and stuff, as opposed to, well, we're thinking about doing this, and, but there's been unfortunately, there's a lot of great ideas that have been formulated over the years, but for various reasons, they never met this, the actual fruition, so.
And I agree with what you're saying again, because, when I'm thinking of this, I'm thinking primarily the uptown area, the train depot, even the Gill House, the history center. But I don't think the district has to be contiguous. So like, let's say we want to bring in Amon's Reservoir, where we have the disc golf.
Pico.
It includes that.
You can bring in parks,
I'm
right?
pretty sure we don't have to be contiguous, so we can bring in some pockets to be a part of this as well.
Sure.
But, yeah, so I'll keep pursuing this and keep continuing the conversations with the folks uptown and some of the others. Going to the third item of discussion, we have a freeze board appointment of Anthony Tanner. He's got some pretty big shoes to fill there. So is that something we need to take a vote to bring to council?
Yeah, you just move it to full council, yeah, somebody needs to make a
So-
motion.
I'd like to make a motion to move the appointment of Anthony Tanner to the freeze board to council.
And I will second that, moving resolution 2026-1.
All in favor?
Yeah, aye.
Opposed? Okay, is there any other business for Parks, Recreation, and hopefully soon to be tourism?
So I will piggyback on the freeze side of things. We actually got an email from Greg Garbrick today, and he asked if we had somebody ready to appoint, and we assured him that. But I talked with Matt about the process, and typically the applications for freeze projects goes out and are due back by mid-February. Then the advisory board meets, they discuss those projects, then it comes to Parks and Recs, and then it goes to full council, and then it goes to the freeze for final authority. So that process has been kind of started, and we're talking about that. So anticipate seeing the information go out for people that want to put in for freeze projects coming in the very near future. So we'll get that going.
Any other business? Okay, if no other business, the next, I'm sorry,
I have a
Matt.
question, and this is probably just about, but it's probably more you were, well, previously being the auditor, you know, but this funding the parks, right? I know the Freeze Foundation does a lot for the parks.
They do not fund the park.
They don't fund it, they do, but they did, but as far as maintaining these parks, what do we look at when it's like East, South Park, Colby, like IC? You know, what's the burden? Because I feel like, I don't want to just shut down, I feel like I'm a wrecking ball tonight, but it's just, I don't want to, you know, East Park needs attention, IC Park is awesome, I mean, a lot of people donate time for flower beds and stuff there, but East Park seems to be a concern on that in the town. What I hear from people, they'd like to see some stuff done, but as far as like South Park goes, besides being used for the Little League and T-ball, you know, does the police have to patrol it, the maintenance, what's it take, does it seem to lag or fall, you know, I don't know if there's concerns about the park or not, or.
Public comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
As we're trying to build an initiative in here starting in April, some of the clients that I work with are willing to sponsor parks, free labor, volunteer, come and clean some of that up. Maybe we can come together and create a meeting and discuss that further at a later date.
That'd be fantastic.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, that's actually something that we wanted to look into, so that's a great segue into that, and we would love to have help.
It would be great, because I got volunteers that are willing to put in some effort in our community to help build it from the inside out, so.
Okay, yeah, good, thank you.
I think the other side of that would be if there are concerns to get with Nikki so that she can talk with Andy and the service department that kind of deals with that. And there's two aspects of the Fund 204, which is our Parks and Recs, but 204 is your parks. And most of that is funded by ordinance as part of the there's tax, part of the the original .39 tax that goes into that money goes in to Parks and Recs. You have maintenance and repair of the parks, and then we created a second side, which is the pools. So you got the Splash Park and Hiking Park pool. So there's two aspects of the park side. But if there's concerns, I mean, we've already had discussions about South Park and what can we do with South Park to do some improvements or stuff, because it kind of gets left out there.
Right.
We've had discussion about what can we do with the old tennis court at East Park. The skateboard was an idea a long time ago that went, but it just kind of sits there and it's not really utilized, and it's a nice worker. So is there something we can do for that? There's been significant money put into the cabin, East Park cabin, and they did do the vein down there. You've got Splash Park good, but it's, yeah, improvements certainly. So if you have suggestions or ideas or thoughts, stuff that needs to be cleaned up. I mean, the flip side of that is we have a recycling down there at East Park, and certainly just ask our community, when you get down there, utilize the recycle bins correctly. It's not your local trash dump. And that's not trying to be negative, but we get complaints of, you know, how it done do the recycling, that A, it was full, and B, there was trash everywhere around it. So that's not what that's for. And that's, again, taking pride one person at a time, one step at a time, and doing your part to not create that problem. Because, you know, the recycle bins are not where you take your old mattress and put it there. It's just not. So.
And unfortunately, we saw, what was it, a couple of years ago, people coming in from outside Galion,
town that dropped its stuff.
using a place like that as a dumping site, which is sad. My thinking question is, for everyone, is, we're talking about the parks, there was a discussion at one time for cameras. I'm wondering is, instead of having, from what I understood, there was, the main issue was, there is cost, but the monitoring of the cameras. Can we get something? I think our parks in some strategic spots, for example, East Park, where the people dump, okay, would be beneficial, if nothing else, to tab a few of the license plates that come in and dump. But anyway, but then put it on something on the line of really something that they could be recorded, and once, if you need to look at it, then pull that segment up or try to figure that segment out. I know I'm just throwing this out here, so, but that way, especially given the atmosphere that is happening all around us nowadays, I'm kind of really wondering if that isn't something that would be good to have as a freeze project.
It's definitely something to consider.
And he's pointing.
I think there was a freeze project for cameras, and some cameras have been purchased.
We have some cameras at night that
Okay, I didn't know that.
they record, and we have used those to go back and try and.
Have they been successful in any way?
My original thought on those is they are live feeds, so when there's activity, the cameras pop up.
Yeah.
And so my thought was that they would be monitored, you know, they would be available here, so catch someone's attention when activity happens, if we catch someone's attention, oh, it's 2 a.m., why is there activity on the playground at Pisces Park? They haven't, it hasn't worked as I envisioned, so we've had to go back and look through footage, and that's not quite as effective, because it takes a long time to look through.
Oh, sure.
You know, we might not discover the mallets have been cut off of the instruments for 4 days. So we have to look back through 4 days of footage. So it's not quite as effective as the live feed. That's the unfortunate part of that. So
Sure.
I had a vision.
Well, I was just wondering, because I know we talked about this in years of the past, and I know that was one of the issues was it was going to be the live feed, and there was a big discussion about who was going to monitor it, and blah, blah, blah.
And it has an app, so they can be monitored on, for example, like patrol officers' tablets. They can pull them up at any time. So, you know, say they're sitting out somewhere on patrol, if they wanted to, they can pull it up. I can pull it up right now and look and see.
Well, let me ask this, and I don't want to take too much time here, is there something, of course, technology is moving along constantly, that would allow for lack of a better term,
are much more expensive options. There's way more.
Oh, I'm sure.
Much more expensive
Plus
options.
resolution.
For sure. Yeah, and these cameras are pretty good resolution, even though they're Amazon cameras with a little Wi-Fi or a wireless card through Verizon. Actually T-Mobile, but yeah, T-Mobile. So they're pretty decent for what they are, but you know, the problem is the constant monitoring. It really is having someone watching them 24/7. Because that was my plan, as they were going to be.
Yeah, I don't think that's really practical, obviously.
They're a very good tool for after the fact.
Yeah.
They're not gonna be prevention, because, in my opinion, most people are gonna do something.
Well, yeah, depending upon what's going on, and it's, the labor, the cameras are in the dispatcher, you've got a dispatcher who's got a phone call, somebody in the window, 2 cruisers out on a traffic stop, and then
Oh, yeah.
I gotta watch 4 cameras, it doesn't work out. So.
Well, that's why I was kind of wondering about how if the technology had moved forward to allow where there was some way to, for lack of a better term, market. If there is something that, like, she was saying, motion trigger something at certain times, but then again, maybe you could put a time limit.
These cameras do on when you pull up a certain date, it does show, it'll show like an orange line. This is when it noted activity. So you can, it will show you, but it's still, you know, a raccoon runs across the parking lot. Yeah. So it's not foolproof.
Every squirrel in town.
Yeah, the squirrels are chewing the power lines,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, there you go.
So for kind of piggyback off what Matt was saying about the parks and which ones we emphasize and stuff, we're going to have some later discussions, especially for the people walking home about East Park. I know there's a lot of ideas that I've talked to people about out there. I have some ideas on how I think we can make East Park more relevant, because I think that's the first step in making it a nicer park, is making it more relevant. I mean, Icy Park's very relevant. You've got the football stadium, you've got the baseball stadium, you've got all sorts of stuff there. Galion Youth Baseball has a huge presence, and Galion Youth Football. I think we can do some presence things in East Park with Galion Youth Baseball that will make East Park more relevant, and then make it therefore a better park. So we won't do all those discussions tonight because all the tourism and TID stuff, but any other business? Okay, so the next meeting is February 3rd, 2026 at 7 p.m. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
7:58. The Streets, Alleys, Trees, and Bridges Committee to order at 7:59 p.m. Roll call, Josh Woodmansey, Chairman.
Here.
Terry Gribble.
Here.
Heath Watkins.
Here. All right, roll call has been completed. Can we get a approval or motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve minutes from the previous meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Alright, so we got approval of agenda as published or amended. Doesn't look like we've had any discussion items. So we can go right on to other business. Yes, sir.
We're still approve the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so now that we've got that approved, discussion items, don't have any, so we can move on to other business, I believe. What do we have for other business? I've got a few things written down. Do you have anything?
Yeah, one quick thing. I had a person, I don't know if you call a patron from the airport, stop in today and asked me a lot of questions that I didn't have answers for right now. I was able to get a few of the answers from Nikki prior to this meeting, and then I'm going to get more answers probably next week, and I'll follow up with that person from the airport. So, and then I can bring that information to committee, the next committee meeting if you'd like.
I have nothing.
Speechless.
Not a thing.
That's rare. All right, well, I got a couple things I just want to bring up just for general discussion pieces here. Paving, I know in the past, we've always wanted to move forward with paving at the end of the year because we can get it for a little bit cheaper or whatever the reasoning is. No?
Because we're slow. We usually bring it about
Oh, it's always brought up early. I do
It's
know.
always brought up about February, maybe March,
Okay,
but no,
so
we don't like to do it at the end of the year because
it does create havoc for you.
we end up not getting paid until November, and that's not good.
Yes, so that was one of my questions was gonna be, you know, the anticipation of when are we gonna be able to get moving faster, maybe not moving faster, maybe just getting things finalized faster. How's that? It sounds like you get them moving quick. We just gotta get them finalized quicker when we do these, because my concern is, last year when they did Gill, leaves,
Yeah.
it's huge, right? And so we run into that problem where we get rain, we get leaves. Are we really getting a good seal between the asphalt and that base layer? And if we don't, that lamination, give it a few years and we're back to square one again, right?
And they're coming back in the spring to do all of the adjustments and catch basins.
Yeah.
Because
Because they didn't have time to get to them, yep.
So I think what I can do, the way we typically do it is we pay a company every 2 or 3 years to come in and assess all of the streets. They grade them. And I have a spreadsheet that shows every street in town with a number grade, worst to best. I can email that out to you so you can kind of see how they scored. And then typically in the past, committee members have brought their favorite streets to the table. Superintendent kind of makes his recommendations. And then we decide how much we have in budget for paving, and we narrow it down from there. That's kind of how we do it, and then I get the bid packet out and we see what we get.
No, the process that you've done as far as identifying, that's great. I mean, everybody wants their street paved, right? We all want that brand new pavement.
And last year, we did $1 million.
We did do a lot last year, and rightfully so, some of the stuff that we did. And, you know, not to be opposed when we do some of these spot surfaces where it's usually under the big old maple trees, right? That we tend to not get any sunlight here, and they pop, they crack, and we have to go in and do sections. You know, like I said, everybody in this town would love to have a brand new street every 5 years, but it doesn't work that way without somebody fitting the bill.
We do have one that will have to be done this year, but did not get done last year that previous council committed to, which is Airport Road. So that will have to be done this year because it did not get completed last. So
Okay.
Justin, that's a
And that was that,
$5,000 chunk out of this year's budget.
it'll come out of this year's budget, it didn't get, okay,
I
so.
don't think we, yeah, I don't think we.
Okay. Yeah, so, you know that right out of the gate when you're funding, whatever the numbers may be for that. So, that was one of the questions I had. I know a lot of that pertains, just, you kind of give me that general information, but it's just something for all of us to think about when that time comes, even as council, when we approve, the streets to be paved, that, you know, getting this thing moving faster, gets things done faster.
This is usually where it snags up, is there's the discussion about which streets to do turns into a month, and then the next committee meeting.
Agreed.
next committee.
Agreed, yeah, we will push, drive that forward faster. Because the faster we get it done, but done correctly, the faster you can move forward, getting everything out there, the bids out there. And we don't look like the laughing stock of, look at these guys being the last ones in the state to get their asphalt done. I mean, this year was one of them years where borderline, the plant shut down. And
We wouldn't have been using Cyrus Road materials.
Tucson was probably already done.
We would have agreed.
Yep.
So Nikki, when you said that the streets are graded from worst, you have a list, that's a third party that does that?
Yes.
Okay. And that's the primary source you use for deciding which ones you're gonna do, correct?
I would say the primary source is the in-house expertise of our crew.
Oh, okay.
To be very honest about it, we have the list, and that of course is, but they're the ones who say, Andy will say, yeah, this is bad, but there might be, the worst street in town last year was, I think, maybe Mackey. Mackey gets like 4 cars a day. So we also have to take that into consideration. We did Fellows Street last year, which I think was maybe number 3 or 4, also 2 cars a day. So I think has to be taken into consideration, and that's where Andy and his crew, where their input is, I think, more important maybe than the score on the list.
So it's safe to say you use the list, but you combine that with key issues like the traffic flow.
Traffic is a big, for me.
They're looking at condition, I take it, that the third party, they're just looking at true condition.
They're looking at.
They don't realize
They're not
the
looking
lack
at-
of
They're not
vehicles.
looking at APT,
Okay.
they're just
Yeah.
looking at condition.
Perfect.
Which,
Which,
it's great to know this for the people listening, because I think there's always that misconception that it's
hand
favoring this
Yeah.
neighborhood or this side of town.
My cousin lives on this road, my mom lives on this road, yeah,
You've
that's,
done all of these roads on the north side of town, but you haven't done any, and I have a map, I can give you guys a copy of the map. Every year I color code, these are the streets we did.
Excellent.
So you can see how many streets we've actually done since I've been here. This map has just been since I've been here. We've done I don't know, 60% of the streets. It's a big chunk when you look at this map, how many streets in town we've actually hit. But with that said, a lot of those streets that are now 10 years old, or Harding Way that is now 5 years old, it sucks. It's terrible. I'm really, really disappointed in the way Harding Way held up. But that was also a proposing November pave job.
it was.
That's why you're trying to avoid this November thing.
Well, that was also, that one was a little bit of state and
It was a
us,
state
we had to
job.
supplement some of the curbing and the wheelchair ramps, and there was a lot that came with that one, but yes,
It was
that's, timing is everything when it comes to asphalt. Believe it or not, the hotter it is, the better it is, because they can get that true seal.
Good seal.
That's,
Well, this is all great information.
It's just
I
name of
love
the game.
public getting it, because, there's a lot of thought that goes into
There's
this,
a
and a lot of
lot of
prioritizing,
thought.
and it's not a favoritism thing.
And ultimately, when we look at the list, we do try to some extent to divide it up equally. So one neighborhood is not getting all of the paving money. But last year, a lot went down on the south side, like First Avenue. That was a giant chunk of the money because it was terrible. But it was end to end, we did it. So that was a big chunk of change. And so each year, we really do try to get some equity in areas of town, but
it's a challenge, we're dealing with a limited budget.
it's a limited.
One of the things is, if you want more paved, get more funding, right? And how do we get more funding? Well, we don't want to go down that road right now.
No, we do not. Nobody
That's,
wants
I mean, they don't want to hear that, and
No.
honestly, that's where it comes from, right? So we have to, I know, yeah, so
I don't want to talk about that.
and unfortunately, that dollar amount doesn't
$20
change.
doesn't
but-
go far.
That dollar amount doesn't change what we receive, but the cost of doing business is way up, and you get less for your dollar amount.
$1 million, almost $1 million last year, and while it was a lot of paving, it was not nearly as much as you would think. So,
One other thing on the asphalt itself is, have we ever looked at, and I don't know that it's feasible or it makes sense, dollar for dollar, but on the less traveled roads, I know Upper Sandusky has done this in the past, going with more of a chip and seal on the, I know you're cringing. I just didn't know if you even looked at it.
We've talked about it.
It is a fine line because of what it creates, and the maintenance doesn't go away with it.
No.
It's just dollar for dollar. Can we do, 5 small, less traveled roads to one fully paved road? I don't know what that dollar to dollar compares to. I don't like it because I tell you right now that everybody that would get it, they would complain that they had gravel in their yard.
They're gonna feel shortchanged because it's, and I think probably last year when we looked at Airport Road, the dollar amount to chip seal that versus put a 2-inch layer on there was minimal.
Okay, so yeah, that right there, that kind of helps me say we're not even really going to consider that happening because
And
I think it makes sense for these long county roads, but it
Yes.
doesn't make sense for the smaller town, in-town roads. I get that, so.
we've just never really gone there because I think we were afraid people would feel like they were getting kind of a short stick
Okay.
by not getting paved.
Like it.
But if you wanna read,
No, you told me what I needed to hear. That's as good as we need right there. So moving from the paving, I had a couple alley conditions I had wrote down on here. It was just for a mental note. I know that always comes up every year. How do we maintain our alleys? We can't. It's not possible. We got too many alleys in this town. But almost all our utilities are running down these alleys, right? So then we run into the scenario, people want to close alleys down. I know on my previous role on whatever I was on, planning commission, that came up quite a bit on closing down alleys, utility issues. I understand all the utility issues that come with that. The maintenance of an alley. Do we give, I'm not gonna say do we promote, but do we give permission to individuals to, or even offer to give them any assistance to, we've got an alley that has been, when we use the grindings, to go in and kind of fill the chuck holes and stuff like that. And the same chuck hole, unless we dig it up and truly redo something, it's gonna keep coming back, right? That's how it works, doesn't matter what we put in there. If someone approaches the city, are we, or you, the city, allowing them to make the repairs themselves, or do you say, we'll get to it when we get time? I mean, I don't know how that process works. I know what I would like, and I know what I have done in the past, but I want a formal, how do we go about this?
if people have an alley request, the preference is they contact, there's a form online on our website that you can ask, or you can call the service department, or you can call me and put in a request. Those are, summertime is when we do the alleys because that's when they really try to go out. They've tried a couple of different techniques over the last few years. But the reality of that is an alley repair is gonna last 2 years if we're lucky.
I was gonna say,
You know,
you're giving some good credit there.
well, Andy, they used some different, it was kind of, it had like concrete dust in.
Okay.
And they rolled it and they held really nicely, but ultimately it's gonna pop out, it's gravel and.
It is.
So that's in an ideal world, and they have a list of alleys, and I think last year they probably had, I don't know, 30 calls for service on alleys. So as we talk about paving, if you would like to focus some of those paving dollars to alleys, that's.
I don't.
We can't pave alleys.
No, we cannot pave out. They don't have a base. They're not built for it.
If
There's a reason they have a big hump in the center. There was no base
we want
underneath.
to have a contractor come in, grade out the alleys, because that's what we had done out at, say, one of the reservoirs, grade them out, come in, lay stone. That is an option that we could talk about. But, that's shifting money away from paving to alleys. We have, I can't remember, 78 miles of roads and alleys somewhere in that neighborhood. So it's a lot of maintenance. And right now we have 4 guys. But that's what we prefer is call, go on the website to the pothole. There's a pothole form.
Okay.
It's submitted, it comes to me and it comes to Andy. And he has a board back there that has the list of.
Mayor, this one's for you. I think it was maybe the council meeting that I wasn't able to attend last week. You discussed the overpass.
Yeah, we were granted, we've got ODOT
ODOT.
grant, it's a 2029 fiscal year grant to rehab the entire deck of the overpass, $6.5 million. It's a 80-20, so it's a $7.7 million project. We can start working on engineering, I think, now. If we can get some reimbursement on the funding for the engineering. But it gives us an opportunity to look at the overpass reconstruction or redecking.
When that came through, when you call it the redecking, structurally, our piers, are they good? We had no issues with that.
There's gonna be a little bit of work there. They want us to revamp kind of what our plan is. We were hoping to get a sidewalk on there, you know, just for safety
Emergency. Yeah,
reasons.
okay.
You know, we don't like seeing people hop through cars.
Yeah.
That's not cool. So, they want us to reconfigure our plan just a little bit, but it'll be redecking and,
That's what they, I think, recently done in Marion. Is that how they did a redecking of the one?
I don't know what they did over there.
The one on 4, I believe they had to do that, and it was a process, but it's nice now. It's
Yeah, that was built in 1970, and we had it resurfaced in 2015, I think.
Did we have did Crawford come in and do some concrete repairs on there not too long ago?
Crawford is the one that did the resurfacing, and
Okay.
they did all of that for us. They actually built it
Yeah.
originally in
Yeah.
1970. So, you know, all of our bridges are inspected annually.
That was-
On behalf of ODOT.
That was another question I had. I know we had some issues, I think twice now. It seems like it might be holding up pretty well there on, what is that? Is that Market Street? The Market Street Bridge?
Yep.
And is that one
Yeah,
good now?
had it repaired.
Okay.
Yep.
The bridge that's out, I don't know if that's actually ours or if that's on the line.
Cummings Road.
Cummings.
Yeah, is that ours?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's a problem. We looked at that. It's been about 5 years ago now. We were gonna try for some grant money to get that one replaced. It was gonna be over $1 million at that time because they weren't gonna let us just replace the bridge. We had to, there was gonna be property acquisition involved because of that curve. They were gonna force us to flatten that curve. So it was not gonna just be
Yeah.
a bridge job. It was gonna be.
Have we looked in the box culvert?
expensive.
Or is it too big for that?
We didn't really get too
Oh,
far
okay.
because of.
I know that's, you know, we like to use a lot of box culverts today, and sometimes, if nothing else, it's speed of recovery, but
I don't know, there's something unique about that bridge and that it's a concrete base or something that's unique. And not being a bridge engineer, I don't know the specifics, but the load on that's been reduced, I think, 3 times, and it is.
at what point do we shut that down? And I know the only traffic that would be, we got the house just after the curve. I mean, at what point do we have to say, like, this bridge is,
And I think that'll be an ODOT call.
Okay,
The
they'll
engineer,
determine that.
yeah, They'll sort of say, hey, you either have to make repairs, replace, or shut it down. When we had that conversation, you know, there's hydrodynamics. I'm sure a lot of people coming to work for hydrodynamics, that's probably the path to work, but it's now the bus, over to Carter, where the bus garage used to be, back in there, so.
I hate it's gonna come to that because,
Right.
but with the expense of it, I understand, like, somebody needs to help make that decision, and the funding's not necessarily sitting there available for it. That's a lot of money to spend on a I'm gonna consider it a cut through, to be honest with you, other than for a few people that is a cut through.
I think that bridge was the overpass was the far more important investment at this point.
100%.
Than this road.
Let's see, I think that is all I had. This other one doesn't really pertain right now. I guess I could ask it. We have a stop sign. I think the mayor slid into it, took it out, maybe. No, I'm just kidding, sorry. Right in front of your house. How dare you?
They have a stop sign up there.
Yes.
Is it a pink Jeep?
Yeah. I guess the question is, back in time, we had our own guys that took care of signs and stuff.
Still do.
You still do that? I didn't know if you actually sent out for those or if you had them.
We have
Okay.
the sign shop. I'm sure
Yep.
we have stop signs at the sign.
Okay. No, that's good. I was just curious. Like, have we gotten to the point where it's almost cheaper just to order in what we want, or if we still have it?
We do order something like a stop sign. We buy those pre-made.
Okay. Perfect.
But
But we can still get
Yeah.
signs made. We can still do
street signs.
whenever needed, and if signs need to go up.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'll quit talking on that one. Anybody have anything else for other business? Brian, you have anything for this? Next meeting time and date, February 3rd, 2026, 7 p.m. I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
8:21. All right, we're calling the Utilities Committee to order at 8:23. Mike Richard, Chairman.
Here.
Matt Strickler.
Here.
Josh Woodmansey.
Here.
Okay, gentlemen, I'd like to have a motion for the minutes from our August 6th, which was our last meeting.
I'll make the motion.
A second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passed. Tonight, I have one thing on the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Second, Mr.
Strickler.
I keep thinking your first name. Matt, I keep thinking of that.
Let's do that. I like that.
Mr. Hand, there you go.
Mr. Matt, there you go. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion passed. I'm going to ask Nikki to kind of give us she's looking at me like, okay.
She's got a whole stack there. She's ready to roll.
I know, I kind of clued her a little bit, because I felt that the complexity of what we deal with in our community, in the sense of water, wastewater, storm sewers, and everything like this, though, and electric, that it's good to have a starting point, and that's what she's kind of gonna give us some of the, especially when it relates to the projects that's been worked on.
Okay, so I guess, we'll start with water. And I think it'll be easiest if I just give you,
Oh, she came prepared.
Well,
She came prepared.
yeah,
Love it.
with water,
I know.
I kind of have to. I'm just gonna give you, this is we had a request last week, 2 weeks ago now,
First week we're,
from a media
Mhm.
source to, if we had a response to some online stories about our water. So this is a response that I drafted with the mayor and Jim Warner, who's our superintendent.
Which I read and it was very good, by the way.
So this is just, I think this kind of encompasses all of the water projects.
and I believe that this is on our website.
It is.
Yes.
Response, so if the public that hasn't seen that, they can certainly go to the website, look at the response.
Did we post that on Facebook? No? Okay, I was just checking to see if it made it on our Facebook webpage or whatever that is.
But, you know, we started back in 2003, I think late 2003 at the water plant. We've spent over $3 million since then on improvements at the plant. Just today, I submitted the retainage release check to the contractor for that second phase of the plant. So that was over $2 million of that. So that's mostly complete. There's a couple punch list items that they're finishing out. So we've done the clarifier project, that was $700,000. That was the first big project, and then inside we've done, refer to that as 1B. So that was the repair tank, lime slaker, a bunch of internal work that nobody know that we've done, but it's a couple $1 million. We're gearing up to do the Clearwell project. We're waiting on EPA approval on that. They've had the plan since last March, I believe. So, you know, that's the holdup with that, is the EPA giving us PTI, the permit to install. So we're moving along. We're doing a lot of stuff, and even though it may not be visible to the public, a lot of progress. We've done some work on the water towers. So we are compliant with the EPA, their timelines. We have 3 outstanding violations, but we have scheduled with them that they are fine with, they have approved, and we are on track to meet those deadlines. So, this continuing story that we are in violation. We are compliant with every schedule that has been set forth for them. We did ask for an extension on our plan submission for the pump out at Amon, but the completion deadline has not changed. We just needed a little bit more time for the plans because the electrical portion of the plan wasn't quite ready yet. But we're still on track for the same completion date.
And if I can answer, just so that people know, so when we get another letter from the EPA, the Amon pump house will still show as a violation. So it's not been completed. So is it a violation? Yes. Is there plans to remediate it? Yes. As long as we stay within their parameters and we meet their deadlines, then they're okay with how things are moving forward. So we still in violation? Yes.
Yes.
But there's a plan of action to fix that. So.
And, you know, when the new letter comes out and is put out there, like, new violations, those are not new violations. Those letters reiterate every time, these are the things you have resolved, and then at the end of the letter, these are the things that remain outstanding. So those letters, every time, are the same list of violations, only just restating them these are the things you would resolve, these are the things you would partially resolve, these are the things that remain outstanding.
My question to that would be, how often do you receive that letter?
Every time we have made an update,
So if any update, we're gonna get that new letter, and then somebody's gonna do a public record, and we're gonna show another one, and we're gonna show
Yes.
another one, and it's gonna keep getting posted.
yes,
And you know, that is one thing that I think if everyone could see that and understand, and I know they could,
they could, if they
If they
just
chose
read the letter.
yes,
It-
and we understand that,
Yes,
but we understand that, right?
Yes.
We just have to make sure other people understand that. How do we go about that? I don't know.
so,
We just gotta keep moving forward, that's what we have to do.
yes, so the vast majority of that was done with grant money.
Right.
There's also this, why didn't they take a loan? Because we got a grant. Why would we borrow money if we got a grant instead? Why would we take out a loan? So all of this has been done with grant money. But now we're getting into the part where we will have to do projects that will be a combination of grant money and loan money. That will be the Avery Pump Project, that's $1.8 million. We have some OPWC grant money, some OPWC loan money, and then local funds involved. We have the Clearwell Project, that's gonna be, I think, $1.3 million. That's OPWC money and local money. What's the third one, right?
And
Tobacco.
Backlist is process.
That's a separate one, and that one will kind of pay for itself, luckily, Gary.
Okay.
They have something else coming up. I'll think on that.
Skipping.
I'll think on that. So again, we're moving along. We have budgeted for all of these projects. You know, upcoming years, other big projects coming up that we have to do either mandated by ODNR or the EPA. But again, we have old infrastructure that we just have to bring up to current standards. That's the case with Powers Reservoir. It was built in the 60s. It's no longer up to today's standards, so we have to flatten the slopes. That's an ODNR thing. So we're gonna have to make some improvements out of even, again, ODNR mandate. That's not anything that we've done wrong or that, it's just things are old. These things have been around for 60, 70 years at this point, and they just need updated. Lead service line inventory, that's a federal mandate. That's not Galion's in trouble, Galion's being singled out, that is a federal mandate.
I've dug a lot in this town, and what number are we at with lead? It's very, very, I just say, I've never found lead. Now, I can tell you other communities that I've dug in, a lot of it. So, but that's good that so far we're at.
We have found zero.
Yes.
We had several people on their self-reporting form reported that they have lead service lines. The building inspector or someone else on staff went out to confirm that. All of them were confirmed to be galvanized.
Galvanized,
Yep.
or copper.
So, or copper, something else, but we have, we at this point have found no lead service lines. But some people have reported, and you may have gotten a letter in the mail saying you have a galvanized requiring replacement or an unknown line. If there is a line that may have been lead at one point or may have lead it is an unknown line, we have to report it as potentially lead. The letter sounds very scary just because it's unknown. Because it could possibly be lead, it has to be reported as such. So you get these scary sounding letters, even at this point, we have found zero.
And that is what type of requirement?
Federal.
Just wanted you to repeat that, that's all.
Federal.
I just wanted
So the
to
letters are also a federal requirement too, then, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And so we're reporting, but then, that's trickled down to the state level. So at the end of every year, we have to report our progress to the state and let them know how many more lines we have identified. So we're working toward 100% identification, because not only my service line as a customer, but the city's lines, our mains have to be identified too. So we're working toward all of that. And then now there's the asbestos line.
The old transite, yes.
Yes.
That's,
So-
I did see that come out. That's
That is-
another one that
That's another.
you show me a municipality that doesn't have transite water lines everywhere, then I'm gonna second guess your
So we have
abilities.
estimated somewhere between, I think, 5 and 15%. And that's just based on age of our lines and the knowledge of our staff. We have until, this is such a high priority, we have until 2031 to finish that. So we will do, we've submitted our initial reports to the EPA saying this is what we estimate. So we are done the necessary reporting and then we will finish out the other reporting by 2031. There's that. So I think that's on the backflow devices. We have hired a company called HydroCore. Every commercial account in town has to have a backflow device. They're supposed to have those checked every year. I think what we're gonna find is some of the contractors are not reporting them properly after they inspect them. So, and that's why we have people who are out of compliance, they've been checked, they just haven't been reported. So we've hired a company, they're actually gonna go to every commercial site in town, inspect these and submit them, so that we will be back in compliance with that. Again, that's a requirement, so we'll get that all squared away. We've hired the contractor, we've sent them the list of all of our commercial accounts. There are some on there that we're gonna remove because they should never have been noted as a commercial account to begin with. So we're cleaning up some of the data too, but that one's on its way out. Any questions about water before I move on?
And what are some of these commercial accounts, like what are we talking?
City
The
building,
city building?
yeah, I mean,
Street department?
street department,
building?
yeah, I
Okay.
mean, those are commercial accounts, but we're required to have a backflow device, and that's just to protect the municipal water source. Any restaurants, like McDonald's has to have a backflow device, doctor's offices, all of those. So we're just gonna confirm that they've been inspected and send the data into our HydroCore, so it's all tracked properly and we have our records up to date.
My question would be on that, the expense. Just
way-
curiosity on
Yeah.
that expense as far as, I mean, it's gotta be done because we gotta
It has
be
to be
compliant,
done.
so, but are we talking, is this a hard hit?
It's not, it's
Okay.
actually much less expensive than I anticipated. There is a cost to the businesses, but it's like, I wanna say $75, which,
So they're gonna cover, the business, each business will cover a portion of, that's good, that's good info.
but the business would have to pay for backflow inspection.
Inspection
by,
anyway, yeah.
Fox or Kozer, because there are only so many plumbers in town that are licensed backflow inspectors.
And that'll get everybody on the same track as well. What's the time frame from start to finish on that?
For that, we hope to have those all done this year.
And, I mean, when would they plan on coming in to start, do we know?
They are, right now, they're looking at the data, so
Okay.
I think we're trying to,
So basically, within this year,
Yep.
everybody in this city will be taken care of and on that same schedule. That's
and then
good.
they have to be inspected on an annual basis, so then we can get them on a rolling schedule.
Annual basis?
And who keeps that data after they've been inspected?
We have 2 people on the water plant staff that are backflow certified, so we'll be caught up and we'll be able to maintain it in-house.
Be able to keep that documentation, so as Fox's or Coes goes out and does that inspection, they send it in to,
It'll be sent to HydroCorp, so they'll still be sort of the database.
they're okay, there you go, that's what I was looking
Yeah,
for. Where does that information go? Like, if we're saying that we, somehow we've gotten out of compliance somewhere along the lines, is it, and you're thinking, maybe it was just a communication error, where did that data get lost at? If it was truly being done, but now it sounds like we have someone in place to be that.
And HydroCorp will send the company a letter saying, hey, you haven't done your backflow inspection, you have 60 days.
Okay, cool.
And they will be the ones that sort of are the heavy hitters with the compliance aspect of it for us. So it'll be good. It'll be good to have someone that's managing that, but then in-house, it'll be caught up and we can stay on top of it and make sure we're staying compliant. Any other water questions? Okay, wastewater plant, we got a grant 2 years ago, right? To install
Yeah, it was in 23.
to install a generator that'll run the plant in case of power outage. That is almost finished. I asked Pat this week, he thinks maybe 6 more weeks until it's all complete. That's a $1.2 million project. The grant was for $600,000, so split between grant and local funds. So that's just about to wrap up, which is a good thing.
That's at the wastewater use?
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Is that one fueled by diesel?
Diesel, yep.
Okay.
Almost everything out there is, I mean,
Ancient.
it's ancient.
Oh, yeah.
All the boards, everything, it's
Ancient. Yep.
it's old.
But it's all the conduits and everything, now they're just running the wire through the conduit to basically get everything online. So I hope, no later than early spring, that'll be all wrapped up. We are working on the no feasible alternative for the EPA, which is the plan for, when we have a big rain event, sometimes the plant bypasses because we were set up to process 2.6 million gallons of plant. And so we clearly have an infiltration issue, and we're working on addressing that. So the big thing that is going to be coming, which is not going to be popular, is smoking. Because we are sure people have their downspouts tied into the sanitary sewer. And those have got to go, because we will go from processing 1.5 million gallons of sewer on a regular day to 8 or 9 million when it rains.
Yeah, we do not have condos in this town, and when I say that, I'm talking the stacked sewer storm where,
They're separated.
yeah, we have a lot of other municipalities that have that, and it creates a nightmare for them.
So we have a lot of people tied in, those absolutely must be removed from our sanitary sewer, and it's not going to be a popular project.
It's not, but it's a must-have, and sump pumps and any of that stuff, and
Yep.
sump pumps tend to get missed sometimes because everybody has to make backflow preventers on there, so when we do smoke, we don't actually make it to that destination, but, yeah, no, I 100% agree.
Probably in the next couple of months, we'll be starting up with that, so that will be.
Is that done in-house, or is that done?
We have an engineering firm that's been working with us on that.
Okay.
Called Westler. They've been awesome to work with. They've come and inspected a whole bunch of manholes, and that was kind of the first step of the project to make sure we didn't have a bunch of infiltration that way. And they said that it's surprisingly, even given the ages of our manholes, they're in pretty decent condition. So that's the next step. So good times. What else do we have, Brian? It's that sanitary and water and storm. Sewer. That's.
Electrical, so you're in powers for, what's the company? Lot.
Yeah, we're slowly but surely upgrading that primary line, the 69 line down on Dawson. They're lots replacing those poles as they're not chasing storms.
How are they doing? They doing pretty good for us?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Good. I see them a lot in the mornings and stuff, so I was just curious to see if they were.
Yeah, Jerry's been really
Way
happy.
cheaper than, I mean, it's been expensive, but it was way cheaper than the other project, yeah.
Yeah, that was gonna be about $1.5 million a mile if we engineered that. We would do it in-house. So I think about, I don't know where they do about $5,000 a day. It's not inexpensive.
Oh, no, yeah, I get that,
It's
yeah.
less than $1.5 million a mile.
Good.
Yeah. We've got a lot of stuff going on,
We
even
do.
though it's not necessarily visible to the public, there's a lot of stuff going on.
You don't have to have big holes in the middle of the streets and excavators everywhere to be making progress. I think there's just some things that there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes.
Oh, one thing I will say, they
Cheer,
called
cheer
me
what?
today with we did our quarterly testing for TTHMs and all of them came in under the limits, so we are good on TTHMs for this quarter.
That's good, that's good.
Interviews for the wastewater plant
I
they're conducted,
I did them on Monday.
okay.
I offered a position, training position to, one of the training positions to a guy. He emailed me this afternoon and declined. He accepted another job. I'm kind of bummed. He was a really strong candidate. So it doesn't surprise me he was offered another job. But we have a couple other ones that I really think would be good fits too, so I'll get offers out to them.
All right, fantastic.
Yep.
And once that's completed, that allows some opening for internal
Eventually.
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 Okay, yeah, no, I understand.
Operator training.
Yeah, no, I get that. Once that gets in place and then,
It's proper.
Yes,
Yes.
we'll have
we have to move forward.
one person remaining at the wastewater plant with any experience. So we've got the two guys who want to bid out, must remain behind to help train any new people. I will not leave Pat with one experienced person on staff. It will not happen, I made that clear.
Fair enough.
It's unfortunate for some, but it's gotta be done that way.
But it has to be done that way. That is a complex operation, and I cannot leave Pat high and dry with one guy who has experience. It will not happen.
Any other questions, guys?
No, so,
At least not at this point.
Thank you.
yes, thanks for the update. I know that was long-winded, but it was needed to go.
That's why we asked her to take it and give it to you guys.
Yep.
PCA discussion will be at the next utilities committee.
That's what I was getting ready to mention.
Yep. We'll jump on that whenever that time comes and.
Next meeting,
Yes.
twice a year. So, any other business? Anybody? Okay, well, then, next meeting is February 3rd at 7 o'clock. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
As you make the motion to adjourn, Mr. Strickler, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at,
8:47.
thank you.
All right, we are calling the Economic Development Airport Committee meeting at 8:51. We have Todd Brown, Chairman.
Here?
Keith Watkins.
Here.
Eric Weber.
Here.
Okay.
All right, has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from the past meeting, which was in July? So if I can get a motion to approve those minutes.
Make the motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. We have a few things on the agenda today, so I guess we'll start with approval of the agenda as it is.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, first on the agenda is the Galion Port Authority appointment. Ken Bockins, and that would be resolution 2026-2.
I reached out to Ken, asking, he showed interest at the end of the year last year, going to some of the meetings, especially with Peace Lutheran was paying it. He showed the biggest interest from council and was willing to continue to serve in that. So he will take one of the 3 vacant spots. Still working on the other 2.
So, yeah, motion.
Yeah,
Or
I
any
think
other
it's great.
discussion?
I think it's great that we're getting the spots filled. It's actually great that we filled a lot of spots for seeking candidates and closing those gaps. So I think Ken will do great in that spot. And I'll make a motion to move resolution number 2026 -2 on the full council.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Second on the agenda, we spoke about this last week at City Council and having a council representative on the design review and looking who would show interest in that. Last week when we talked about it, the consensus seemed to be it would be somebody from the economic development side, but I will leave that open for discussion as far as where we think that should fall.
I mentioned in the last council meeting, I've served on design review before, and I don't want to serve on design review again, but I think it'd be great if the council had a representative that would like to do that.
I mean, I think it's fair for economic, or for this committee to have a representative. I think it also could fall under laws and ordinances if a member from laws and ordinances to be on the committee too. I think that the design review board kind of sits in both seats, sort of. So,
Is this something you'd be interested in doing, Todd? Or?
Yeah, potentially, yes.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think as a chairperson of this committee that you'd be a great person to sit around if it's something that you're interested in doing.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, well, I
think
can
you'd
do
great in that
the,
spot.
I can do the ordinance or the actually resolution and have it ready for you guys to vote on to the agenda at the next meeting.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay.
There's no design review board meetings between now and then, right?
I don't believe so.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I guess. We
Okay.
still have somebody in that spot.
Yeah,
technically, right?
Yeah, Mike's still on, yeah. But
Yeah.
You can just take over the council. There's 9 spots on it, but one of them's dedicated to council members. So.
Yeah.
I think Mike's done a great job on, to represent council up to this point. And he said, I think at the last meeting that he's ready to step down, let some a fresh face get to the scene. So I'm excited to see that too.
So right now, who is all on as far as specific people or specific departments on the design review board?
Departments, there are no departments on design. So the people on the members that are currently appointed that have not expired, there's one. And that's Eric Gimbel. Dan Brown, Judy Lamb,
Rich Henry.
Rich Henry. Yeah, Rich Henry he's the BZA appointment. So there's two kind of, not really ad hoc, but council members appoint one, so Mike is technically on that now, so a council member. And Rich Henry is the BZA appointee to the design review. Rick Maddox, I have the list on my desk. So yeah, there's a couple vacancies that were not filled. Mr. Musselman and Ms. Gibson, their positions were not replaced. So I've got some feelers out for design review. I have the criteria down on my desk, so I've been looking at that. So if you have ideas or thoughts, we need to try to get those filled up in the interim of reviewing the entire process.
Yeah. It sounds like it could all be changing, including how many people are.
Yeah, Scott Palmer's another name that's on there that his term expired, I think, on the 31st. I think 3 of the members on the board that sat last year, their terms expired on the 31st of December. So either reappoint or find new. So, and haven't been able to reach out to those to see if they want to continue or what direction we want to go. But a lot of discussion about design review.
Okay.
If somebody wanted to be on the board, who should they reach out to?
Me, I think, because it's a mayoral appointment that's approved by council. So I think all the design review are approved by council in the terms. So I guess we could reach out to council members too and show their interest and want to do that stuff. So I think we just got to get the names involved. And again, I think the criteria, I've got the criteria, looked at the stuff that's business owner, resident within the district, and the business owner does not have to technically live in town as long as they own the business within the town or property owner. So yeah, the specific criteria that has to be met to be involved with that.
Next on the agenda is economic development strategy. And everyone should have a copy of, I've spent some time just, on the campaign trail. Many of us talked about economic development, bringing businesses to town, retaining the businesses we have, gaining in population, and also increasing tax revenue. So I kind of put together this framework, and this is going to be a fully negotiable conversation starter for everyone. So when I think about economic development, there's some key concepts to consider. How we're going to support the local business, and that's the existing businesses that we have in town, and how are we going to attract new businesses. So expanding, diversifying the tax base that we have, not all retail, not all manufacturing. How can we have a good mix that's going to serve our community? And also, some things came across Facebook from a private citizen. I didn't ask for permission, so I won't mention her name, but she put a poll out there like, what do we need in town? And we had suggestions from different restaurants and craft places like in Columbus where you can go in and make pottery, paint pictures, and drink wine. So there was a whole slew of residents that presented different ideas. So looking at what new businesses can we attract, services, and then amenities also. A second key concept that too is how are we going to support our local workforce? So we have education in Galion City schools. We have Pioneer when it comes to trade schools. What other things do we need to look at to attract more people to come in town? And a lot of that's going to be conversations we have with the local businesses to see where they're missing skills. I see it on my side in sales because I call a lot of maintenance departments and they just do not have the skilled trades anymore to fill those positions. So looking at that. And then also, all this will accumulate into how we support a better quality of life for our residents. If it's increased income potential, shop local, eat local, how can we make our parks and green spaces, and Heath had talked about that earlier under Parks and Recreation. You know, focusing on the parks that we have and the monies that we have available. Green space grants. When I lived in Newark, they did a whole revitalization of downtown Newark. A lot of that was green space, and a lot of that was with grant money that was out there. So exploring all those different options so we can create a really close-knit environment where people are going to want to come to and stay here. And identifying those key areas, locations for development and redevelopment. We have Clay Street being cleaned up right now. Is that an opportunity for redevelopment? Different other properties in town and identifying those properties where we can look at investment and reinvestment. Any questions there? So, taking a look at some of the principles, are we looking at growth or are we looking at investment? Growth being new businesses, increase of population, and increase of tax base. Or are we looking at, or we could do both, investment in what's already here. And that could be one of our manufacturers expanding their plant. It could be a restaurant expanding into catering or something like that. But we really have to be very strategic and tactical on how we do it, setting long-term goals, but also looking at the short term. You know, all of our terms as far as council members are two-year terms. So how do we start to have small little wins in the short term to expand and grow that long-term strategy? Also staying focused, and that's kind of what I just said, starting small and building on the successes that we have. You know, we have the new bridal shop that's uptown right now, and there seems to be a lot of excitement around that. Tuxedo rentals are going to start offering. You know, what else can we start to attract in the vacant spots that we have uptown and bring in new businesses, and also find, there may be entrepreneurs in our community that just don't know where to start. It could be Chamber of Commerce, it could be coming to us, it could be tax incentives that we have for startup businesses. So taking a look at that. Yeah, questions on those first three?
Yeah, because there's something kind of caught my attention. I don't know which bullet point it was, but like you're putting these strategies to bring new businesses or grow existing businesses. I almost feel like the first step isn't business related, it's housing. Because like Eric, you work at Rumpke, right? If you were to be in a position to bring something with Rumpke to Galion and it had so many positions, how would we even have those people, because we don't have housing for those people? Mm-hmm. And we have a hard time with housing, keeping our people here, right? We're hoping you don't move, you know? So, yeah, I just kind of wanted to point that out there along with the economic development. I don't even know where housing falls in our committees, but all the time we're talking about population growth and bringing companies to Galion. How do you bring a person to Galion when there's no house for them to move into? You know, so just wanted to kind of say that, like I feel like that's step one.
Yeah, it's a good point, and you know, I think it was Ray Trudeau has the development and land that was being sold up on the northeast end of town. Mm-hmm. And I know there was those final 3 lots right there in front that we kind of took away from a commercial zoning perspective and moved it into residential. So that's one area. What else is out there? I don't know.
Well, Ridgeville School.
And I don't think Ray would mind me saying this. I talked to Ray a lot, and he's wanting to do more. So that's kind of exciting. I'm glad you brought him up. He wants more property. He wants to bring more houses. So, but, sorry.
Yeah, and we there last year there was there was a I don't know what the right word to use is, but there was some funding available to build multi-housing, and so bids that were submitted throughout the county. my knowledge, we were not awarded any of that.
That was Dawson, right?
Well, there was Dawson, there was 3 locations. Dawson was the prime, I feel that Dawson was the prime location, but there was three locations that were submitted, and we were not approved for any of the 3, but that, that comes up again. How can we be best prepared? Or what needs to be done? Can anything be done ahead of time to best prepare us so that the people that are submitting bids stand out the most to be awarded that, instead of it going, those funds going other places?
Are those funds state or federal? State fund.
So I guess I have a question. When someone like that wants to move into the community, does that start with you?
I think typically they come in, they start in the mayor's office or that to see if there's interest, and then the next would go to the planning commission. I think there's something coming to the planning commission next week. Because it's a zoning issue, or is there conforming, what's the word I'm looking for?
Variance.
A variance, yeah. So it would go there and then it would come to council, but I think what is done, like with Dawson, is that the mayor and Tom it come to the mayor's office, but they pushed it and got it through the planning and zoning, planning commission's planning and zoning, so that their timelines were met, that the zoning was already in place if it were to happen. So it's working with these folks to make sure that if they get the funding, A, B, and C has to be done in that correct order, so that when they submit the application, they've already got it. And then whereas Dawson didn't get it, so it just reverts back to the original zoning, but it is making sure that those loopholes are already fixed, so not loopholes, but the variances that need to be done so that they can move forward are already in place.
A few years before this happened, there was property out by Mill Creek that it was also in discussion to have a multi-housing facility built, and I think there was some hype around it, and then it fizzled out. I don't know if COVID was the reason, I can't remember, but it's been some time ago that
They didn't
happened.
get funded. There was a project at the old high school that was presented and didn't get funded. Dawson, another one of the ones from last year was out on Traxel on the east end. That didn't get funded.
So going back to what you said, are there things, or do we think there may be things that we can do to better position ourselves that these entities get funded?
That might be a question more in line with the developers, because they're not only are they presenting stuff in our areas, but they're presenting stuff in the bigger areas. And it's the Columbuses and Clevelands that are gobbling up that money. How do we get in line for that?
Okay.
Working, and I can talk with McKenna from the partnership, because I can talk with her every Monday morning, and we can talk about that.
Yeah, because we have, 89 builders building out of Aspen Terrace.
Yep.
I think they're going to be building the property that's heading out of town, out by
Winchester.
On Winchester. And then I don't know where Port Authority is as far as selling that Wrenchville area. If 89 builders is going to look at developing that.
I think they sold a lot of the property in there, Galion is going forward, so there's some, we can find out more.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's a great point. I mean, housing, if we're going to attract new businesses or expansions of businesses, the housing is definitely a piece of it.
Businesses move to Galion, they bring 20 new people, and all 20 live in Ontario. Because there's housing.
Yeah. So also looking at some more of the principles, I mean, really, who's investing and expanding right now in our community? And he's going to be going around talking as far as the tourism district. Obviously, we're going to need to talk to business owners and see what their plans are for expansion, if there are any plans for expansion. And really, when there are successes out there, how can we showcase those successes to show people that we're a very business-friendly community and how we attract more businesses to come to town. I'll talk a little bit in another slide about really who our key partners and stakeholders are in this and who we're going to need to be on board. And then really, how do we communicate and how do we coordinate? If it's the regional agencies like the Chamber of Commerce, the Crawford Partnership, other nonprofits that can help with workforce development. Having a survey or talking with our local business owners and their leaders, and then, the education programs that we have in place right now. Taking a look at the partners and the stakeholders, obviously we're going to be a key part of it as far as city government. And the Mayor Satterfield is engaged with the Crawford Partnership, as he just mentioned. Our Economic Development Committee, Port Authority. I mean, when you look at the Port Authority's website, it talks about economic development, and they talk about the Wrenchfield housing development, and they talk about the Free Center. How long ago was that? So there has to be some changes there. I know we're looking at filling some spots here, so hopefully we're going to get some good direction there. McKenna Laser, as far as the Crawford Partnership, I believe Becky Lutz is still the director of the Chamber of Commerce. Taking a look at our local nonprofits, how can we use them to help promote Galion? Angela May was here earlier. I know part of her program that she's wanting to bring to Galion is, she talked about volunteers tonight and building skills, which is awesome for us. But part of her program too is helping people rehab, develop them in a skill so they can get back out into the workforce. So we can use kind of that momentum to do that. The local business community, and then obviously, as I mentioned earlier, how can we position our schools to train and teach these kids skills that are needed for what we have here right now, and keep these kids as they graduate and as they graduate college to come back to town. Anything that you guys would add there as far as any key partners that I may have missed, and just not being here for only 4 or 5 years?
None, but do we know, are we going to be having a new director of the board? Is that something?
That's up to the board's discussion, I think. Mr. Rangel is on his last week or so, but I think unless there's something comes up, he's basically done at the end of the month, he's retiring from that, so I think the board ultimately hires the executive director, so.
And then really moving into the strategy point. So as I was looking at our website, I mean, we really don't have anything on there as far as economic development. You can find some hidden things in there as far as some tax incentives for a new business coming to town, and tax abatements for 15 years depending on how much money they invest. But I think we need to have that in kind of a centralized area as far as all the different resources that we have available. So really, when you think about our strategy, what are we going to focus on? Are we going to focus on a specific location in town, different neighborhoods? If it's an industrial type business that we want to attract, or expanding our Avita footprint here in town, retail, restaurants, and services. And really understanding where we are right now from a business perspective. And there's different analytics out there that you can look at. You can look at demographics as far as what your community makeup is, average incomes, tax base and stuff like that, but really just kind of looking at that to see where we might be able to fit some things in or help promote our community to fill a specific need. And then really setting goals, and that goes back to supporting our local businesses, supporting our local workforce, and helping to support a better quality of life for our citizens here in town. And then looking at the fifth strategy is really understanding where our existing assets are and where the barriers may be. So we talked about looking at what land or what properties that are available, if it's a retail space or office space, what's available. Residents to support this. And it was good to see some of that stuff floating around Facebook and people saying, yeah, we need this. People saying, yeah, how do we go about doing this? How do we go about investing? So very positive. I'm going to have some conversations with that individual so we can start to build that strategy out. When you think about barriers, the absentee property owners. And we've seen properties in our town that can use some attention. So how do we enforce that? If it's zoning or ordinance or what that looks like, I don't know. So I'll rely on some others to help expand my expertise there. And then we talked a little bit, like we had the cameras up. What kind of signage? I mean, we may have put a sign up there that says under surveillance. That may help kind of deter some of that, but it also goes into how do we identify our areas in town to push people to uptown, push them to Brownella, the Gill House, the Big Four Depot. And then really taking a look at the fifth strategy is what tools are we going to use? So we could use zoning tools or changing zoning to attract more businesses. Our partnership building with the Chamber of Commerce, the Crawford Partnership, and also the local nonprofits. How do we attract private investment or also encourage local entrepreneurs to invest in our community? And then what kind of infrastructure financing is out there? I know in the Port Authority they talk about low interest loans. What else is available out there to help attract businesses to our community?
Yeah, a question for the mayor, maybe Nikki. The depot, upstairs at the depot, we had conversations about, when it's complete, that there was potentially usage for, rental of office space. Have we made this, has there been any traction on filling that space?
Not yet, because it's not finished. I actually took a tour there last week, went to an update meeting of what's going on, hadn't been in there, I'd never been in there. And I had actually thought that the upstairs was an open space that you were gonna have cubicles and people sitting there. It's not the case, there's a bunch of office spaces up there. It can be really neat to do, and I think that the funding is tied into that. The $800,000 grant we're getting is tied into job creation and retention. So it's one spot that's potentially open for small business or entrepreneurs to go in and do some stuff.
So it sounds like an incubator is what it sounds like.
As you're going, if you want to take a tour, want to get a tour, we can try to work with Matt and stuff to get up there and take a look, because if you were never in it as a kid or did grow up here, you didn't know what it was, they're making some progress, and while it's been going on for a while, we spent some cash with it, but the key nuts and bolts are starting to come into place, and now they're starting to do a lot more cosmetic stuff. They're starting to do patching and pulls and putting drywall up and stuff.
So with the office space up there, I'm a little bit familiar with incubators. Who's going to manage that space?
That's all up in the air.
Like ours,
Right now,
or
it's
something
just-
like that?
Right now, it's kind of falling on the city. I think there was hope that the chamber would be involved in some way, shape, or form. Truthfully, that would be a Nikki and Matt conversation, and because they have more of that vision. They were involved with Tom more than I was with the depot. So
It could be a really cool incubator. A good incubator would be great because it's a revolving door, first of all. They're coming and going, they're coming and going, they're coming and going. But all it takes is if 27 businesses go through there coming and going, all it takes is maybe 2 of them to hit big. And then the next thing you know, you have 2 really nice companies in Galion from them that hit. But I asked the question because that's a lot of work managing an incubator. Ton of work with a revolving door. It's worse than the hotel because you have tenants that have been there the whole time. Your incubator tenants are going to be there for 3 months at a time, 9 months at a time. So great idea, but they need to figure out a really good management that doesn't involve Nikki or Matt with all the workload that they're already doing. They got to figure out someone else because that would be a nightmare for them to manage that.
yeah.
How many offices are going to be there? Maybe?
When it was originally, when they were talking about it originally, it was going to be more like a co-working space where you could rent, if you needed say you're an independent photographer and you needed to meet with someone to show them their portfolio, you needed 2 hours of office space. Kind of that sort of.
Who will collect the rents for it and own it? City will own it and collect the rents?
Yes, yeah.
So I vote, take an organization like a Main Street and put them in one of the offices and find somebody that can manage it for you.
That was kind of, Tom had conversations with, oh shoot, what was her name at the chamber that left?
Not that man.
Cassie or Casey.
Casey, yes, about managing all of that. And then Casey left, and I think the conversations about that kind of died off when Casey exited. So I don't think he never established, he was having bi-weekly or monthly meetings with Casey, and I don't think he ever established with anyone once she left, because that was the conversation, is they were going to take, I think, maybe part of the fees that were collected for renting the space as their management fee.
Like I said, it could be a great thing. You could do this for 4 years, not a single company hits the move, and then all of a sudden one of them hits, and they're building a new building in Galion with 30 employees, and we're something on, but I would not have the city managing it.
We just don't have, we cannot, with giving current staffing, cannot deal with that. Just on and Brian can attest to this, just on a daily basis, phone calls for shelter rentals about make me want to scream.
Yeah.
By the time you answer a question, well, can you tell me about
But
this?
please keep calling.
But please keep calling. But the time it takes to tell, it's $55, no, you have it for the whole day. No, the restroom, there's a restroom inside, no, the restroom's just next door. There's heat, there is no way we can take on something like that. None.
I think there's organizations that can do it. I think there's a handful of them right there in town, and heck, give them an office space in the building for managing it.
Yeah, because
That'd be the first
downstairs is SCAT, SCAT's gonna use,
That would
or
be-
it's called NCAT now. NCAT is gonna have the office space downstairs, so there will be that filled, but otherwise upstairs, I think we're kind of,
What is NCAT?
Your local transportation.
senior transport.
Okay.
Is this another property that if we decided down the road that it should be privately owned and not city owned, that you can't?
There's a lot of federal grants tied into this.
I thought that might be the case. Okay.
It goes back even to Phil Hunzy days when they got 100,000.
Yeah, so it's ours forever. Media management firm. I'll start looking for one.
Great starting point, Todd, and good discussion. And then my conversations what I've had with McKenna so far, Ivy Tech was the most recent big thing in Crawford County with 170 plus jobs and stuff, and that was huge. Be great, they don't fall out of the sky. But bringing in 10 businesses with 10 to 15 employees is 150 jobs.
Yes.
So small successes breed small successes. And while we can reach for the stars, we can't forget to reach for the small entrepreneurs to get and focus on them and try to get them in here. I think there's another business coming right, 107 Harding East, right next to Oakstone. There's a little small jewelry place that's coming in. They just got awarded some money from the partnership for awning and rent assistance. Just gotta keep pushing, and we have to support them. So,
And I think once we, it falls under economic development, and all the things that we're working with towards uptown. I'm a firm believer, I've never believed that, we need to sit here and wait till this great thing falls out of the sky. It's gonna come to uptown, it's gonna be this restaurant. It's gonna be a restaurant that you would expect to see in New York City, and they're just gonna choose Galion. I don't think it works that way. We're gonna have to redo Uptown Galion and make it beautiful to attract that.
Right.
That's the winning strategy, because it's really simple. I mean, and I don't want to sound negative, because I'm actually very positive about this, but if I'm if I am that restaurant and I'm looking at, say, Galion and their neighbors in Bucyrus, one uptown's postcard pretty, the other one's not. Which town am I investing in? I'm investing in a postcard. So we have to create the postcard uptown, and I'm gonna be beating that drum for 2 years.
So yeah, this is just somewhere for us to start, because I don't think Mike and I talked earlier, it's never really been a strategy when it comes to economic development. When you look at the last time the Economic Development Committee met was 7 months ago. So, and back then they were talking about the apartment complex. So this gives us a good starting point. I'm all ears as far as any recommendations, add, delete, any other thoughts, so. Put that out there, so.
Yeah, thanks for putting this together.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, next on the agenda was, I think, city property line number 4.
City property.
And I will let Keith talk about this.
We're dropping bombs tonight. I think, to start the discussion, and I don't know what grants the hotels are, but I definitely think the hotel property needs to be privately owned. I don't think it needs to be city owned. I heard, I don't know if this is true, Mickey, but I heard that we actually run the risk of losing money on the hotel. To me, it makes no sense at all that the city owns that property. I understand how that came about, and it wasn't necessarily the city's choice, but that should be privately owned. It's worth a significant amount of money being sold privately. And then when that was done, it was done with the whole idea that we were saving a historical building uptown and we were making our uptown nicer. I think the money from that hotel when it's sold should be reinvested into making the uptown nicer. So I don't know everything. I know our mayor has talked about looking into and finding out what the parameters are of us being able to sell it, like who could purchase it and what the usage would be. I'd like to definitely know that, and it would be at the top of my list of city properties to unload. I just don't think I've had this conversation with a lot of people, and I've had this conversation. My building that I own is attached to that building. I talk to the tenants all the time. They would like for it to be privately owned. So I'm just of the strong opinion that we should not be in the owning hotels or apartment complexes in Uptown Galion. I don't think Nikki should have to spend all of her time on it. Matt Eccleberry, I think, is full-time apartment manager. Just doesn't make sense that we own that. And there's a lot of money there that could be reinvested into our uptown if we were able to sell it.
Yeah, how we sell it is a question too. I mean, what the process is. Do we have to bid it? Does it have to be a public bid type situation? I don't know. You can just list it for sale as a city.
Can you move it to the Port Authority so that you don't have
that's an option.
You don't have those parameters and you have more flexibility who you choose to sell it to.
Yeah. If you move it to them, then they sell it. It's their money. Then we have to make sure that they're spending the money that they made with it appropriately.
Yeah, we have to know that. And from my point of view of wanting to reinvest that money into uptown, the Port Authority have the ability to reinvest that money out.
Yeah, that's a good question.
So if I remember correctly, on the budget for 2026 was 60 or 70 grand that was allocated for the hotel as far as routine maintenance and
Probably more than that.
probably more than that.
The budget for the hotel, because you got to throw in insurance and all that stuff, I think the budget for the hotel is around 200,000.
How many units are in there?
30.
So I'm also in the landlord business. If I'm buying a duplex in Galion, my bottom line is it's going to cost me $100,000 for
You are, that's some of the research that has to go into this, because that's kind of tied into low-income housing for that.
Okay.
And it's tied into that for a significant number of years yet, or some other things kick in. So, I mean,
55 plus has to remain.
yeah,
Okay.
So I think
Is it subsidized?
yes.
It-
Some
Okay, so the investor that's buying it, all they care about is what they're making per unit and they don't care if they have to have 55 plus tenants or not. They probably prefer it actually. But they want to know how much can I get per unit and what's my maintenance cost of the building. Well, the great thing about that, I'd love to own that building because I'd love to have 30 units under one roof instead of 30 units under 15 roofs. It'd be fantastic. That's so much less maintenance than buying 15 duplexes. I think that property could be worth a significant amount of money to an investor, especially if it's government subsidized.
With 30 air conditioning units on the roof that need replaced and all of the windows.
But you have that with every investment
It's
property.
but this is imminent, and they are $14,000 a piece, and so we know we have some.
All the more reason we should unload it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. The one bedrooms are 600, the twos are 700, and threes are 800. And I think
That's with the subsidy?
no, that's the base price, and then we're not it's not technically subsidized. We have a lot of people who receive Metro, but those are the base prices. And I think what do we have right now? 4 vacancies, Brian?
I think so.
4 vacancies.
Because I think there was a vacancy that Michael Bear was talking about, or not a vacancy, an
It's
eviction.
an eviction.
Yeah, an eviction.
I saw the pictures, torn up walls. Which is another reason. I mean, we shouldn't be in the city offices talking to our valuable employees about working all day on an eviction with torn up walls and how they're going to fix the drywall and everything. It's just, the reasons to sell that building are countless. In my opinion, it needs to go.
Are there other properties that the city owns that just aren't being utilized for anything? Just
Or the firehouse, there's
Site
a,
fire station, the old water plant, corner of Church and Jefferson.
Vacant lot on South Market Street.
Yeah, that,
There's, yes, lots. What do you think? And I know that more, you say that I pay the tax bills.
That's what I'm saying, we're paying taxes on that property.
I'm glad you put this on the agenda because there's probably a lot of things that need to be moved out of the property.
We've tried to sell the East Side Firehouse for years.
and we tried to sell that last year with a sealed bid process and,
Nobody bid on it?
No, I think what we did is we had it appraised, and we had the starting bid at half the appraised value. In my opinion, the appraised value was far higher than what the value really was. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think the comps were not realistic comps. They had buildings in Ontario and Lexington that were nice, functioning businesses. That building requires extensive work to be able to be used. So I think that the appraised value of it was high to begin with. And so I think our opening bid was a little rich for people.
Nikki, is that a process, Nikki, that we have to do?
Yes,
Okay.
when we're selling a public property, it must be a sealed bid process.
No, but I mean the appraise and it's the lowest bid.
No, that was just how we chose to go about it because we didn't want someone to come in and bid $5,000 and be the only bidder and walk away with the building
Yeah, I was hoping to do
for
that.
$5,000. Yeah, you and about 10 other people.
It was
So-
big for you to park the RVs.
Yeah, so that's why we set a minimum bid on it.
Okay.
Because there is value to that building, I just don't know that it was $80,000.
Other than taxes, is there a cost, or have we had like yearly expenses on maintaining it? We don't have to heat, like.
We do keep it minimally heated.
Yeah.
And we've made roof repairs to it a couple of times, just,
Yeah, and the ultimate cost, if we don't unload it at some point, it's gonna become blighted and you're gonna have to tear it down and you're gonna have demolition costs.
Yeah.
The longer it sits there empty, sooner or later, you're gonna have demolition costs.
we do use it for storage. I mean, that one we do put, one of our largest bucket truck That's the only place we have to store it that's large enough. So we do use it for storage, but if we really had to, we could probably find an alternate location for that truck, but it's just gigantic and we use it 10 times a year, so.
Could that building be used for like salt storage? No.
I don't think so. Well, we are gonna have to come up with self-storage solutions, the bins coming apart at the seams, literally.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other business for discussion?
I don't have any additional.
All right, our next meeting time and date will be February 18th at 7 p.m. And if I can get a motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion for adjournment. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
9:36. All right, we're calling the Finance Committee meeting to order at 9:39. Roll call, Eric Weber, Chair.
Here.
Todd Brown.
Here.
Mike Richard.
Here.
All right. You have in front of you the minutes from November 19th, the regular meeting. Somebody would like to make a motion to approve those minutes?
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from the November 19th meeting.
Motion made by Mr. Richard, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the agenda in front of us is here, so there's no additions that need to be made to it. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as is.
Motion to approve the agenda by Mr. Brown, second
And I'll make that.
by Mr. Richard. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. There's no real discussion items for today's finance meeting. We do have other business. I don't know if Mayor has anything that he wants to talk about.
Yeah, I think We were given information here late today about a transfer that needs to be made from the police department for canine supplies and equipment, I think. It's moving money from I think a capital line into operating supplies. So if you don't mind, we will just do an ordinance and have a point put on the agenda for the next council meeting. That's not appropriating any additional funds, just moving them so you can do some business there. So, is there anything else on that?
I don't think we need an ordinance, I think it's within the same 400s.
Oh, is it?
I think so.
So you might even not have to do that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, if we do, then you'll let me know and I'll have
Yeah.
it. Okay. You guys will get all, the Friday one, I'll, as long as I'm not sick or anything, you guys will get the council packet on Friday, so that's always the plan, to get it out on to you guys on Friday, so.
Very good.
So that way if you have any questions or you have time to review stuff, check on stuff.
As a side note, the transition into the new offices and new people, it seems to be going really well. Ms. Wade and the girls in the auditor's office are doing a really good job. Everything's been reconciled. The year's open. They're doing purchase orders, they're paying bills, we're working together between the administration office and their office. It's gone very smooth. And that's why there's not a whole lot on the agenda now, because it's early in the year. We really shouldn't be needing to deal a whole lot with finances, so.
Yeah, so.
So,
Good problem to have.
yeah, it is.
Good things on that.
Very good. Mr. Richard, Mr. Brown?
I don't have anything, do you?
No, I do not. No.
All right, next meeting is February 18th at 7 p.m. Need a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Richards, second.
Second?
Mr. Brown, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, it is 9:42.
Okay.
I said 3 hours.